shaking underneath, trying to take me alive. Get ready for the fallout. Can't stop me now. I got no rival. I'ma find my way through the blood and pain game of survival. Any time or place, watch 'em run away. I got none. I'll be standing on my own, never gonna take my throne. I got no rival. Watch 'em run away. I got no, I got no rival. Tell me now, what you gon' do? We can do this face to face. The reckoning is coming real soon. Doesn't matter what you say. Try to tell you this is my moment. Can't take mine 'cause I own it. Don't you know that I'm locked and unloaded? You're out of focus. Get ready for the fallout. Can't stop me now. I got no rival. I'ma find my way through the blood and pain game of survival. Any time or place, watch 'em run away. I got no. I'll be standing on my own, never gonna take my phone. I got no rival. Watch 'em run away. I got no, I got no rival. No rival. I got no rival. No rival.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of Careers in Canada, the channel where we bring your professional opportunities and valuable insights about Canada. After 3 years of podcasting Portuguese, we've decided to make a change and now we also be featuring episodes in English. We're thrilled to kick off this new chapter with you. And now today, again, is a special day. We're having here with you Peter Hawkins. It's a pleasure. You're going to be awesome. I'm so excited to talk to you. Welcome to Careers in Canada, Peter.
Thank you so much. The pleasure is mine. I was really excited because I saw your post on LinkedIn, and I've been following you for a long time, obviously, and so I invited myself on, but you wrote to me at the exact same time. So I thought, isn't that wonderful? That's serendipity if I ever saw it.
Exactly, because I remember, I think I met you online or on TMPM, I think it was 3 years ago, right?
Yes,
When
yeah.
I was a mentee in the program. I
Yes.
was not even a mentor yet.
Yes, but now, of course, you're giving back, which I love. I think that should be everybody's goal. People always say to me, so, what do you want for pay? Now, don't get me wrong. There are lots of things I do for pay.
Yeah.
But for this, I think giving back. That's all there is to it. If I can help someone who can help someone else, perfect.
Yeah, that's the goal for sure. Okay, before we start, I have some message of our sponsors here. We are here in TFA Studios. For those who are looking for information about tourist visas, permanent residence in Canada, citizenship process, study in Canada, TFA is your go-to solution. TFA has been proud supporter of Careers in Canada since the very beginning. Follow them on social media, and don't forget, we have an exclusive 15% discount code for you. The links are in the description, and again, we don't talk about immigration any details, and they are the experts who are going to provide them much more helpful insights than us. And follow the next one is MB Tax Solutions. After year comes to the end and the fiscal year begins, our tip for you to file your taxes safely with MB Tax Solutions. If you need assistance with starting a business in Canada or any another accounting solution, they're here to help. Be sure to follow them on social media on mbtax_solutions and the website mbtaxsolutions.com. And we are incredibly proud to have Brazil Remittance as one of our sponsors. Brazil Remittance is a Brazilian company, has been in operation in Canada for over 32 years, specializing in money transfers from Canada to Brazil. They offer highly competitive rates and warm, personalized service in Portuguese, English, and Spanish. Be sure to follow them on social media, Brazil Remittance Online on Instagram or in BrazilRemittance.com. And now it's amazing for us because we have here Peter Hawkins for Hawkins Logistics. Is one of our sponsors. We're really proud to have them. And I think it's much better than I talk about Hawk to let Peter talk about it. Right?
Well, I'm delighted to talk about Hawk, but before I talk about Hawk, I'm going to talk about Terry and I'm going to talk about Angela Mesquita.
Sure.
I will tell you something. I love the fact that those are your sponsors along with MB Tax because I'm actually using Terry services right now that have been instrumental in helping us with some of our colleagues, and that's been wonderful with Ferreira, and with the Angela Mesquita, as you know, has supported everything ever since I came to Canada or to Toronto. Angela Mesquita's name was out there, and now her children have taken over the business and do a great job, and we use them all the time too. It's secure, fast. I'm grateful to be part of that community. And now with Hawk. So Hawk Logistics, we've been around for 22 years, and it's been very exciting for us to not only be part of the community, but also grow our business. When Arno started the business, and I didn't want to, and so it's funny. I'm going to tell a little story about that. I was actually working in publishing, and I had a great job and kind of a glamorous job, and then I lost my job. And I was already 40 years old. I was already wondering what the next thing was going to be, and I was overpriced in a dying industry. And then Arno said, I want to start this company, and I need you to help me start it. And I said, well, I can invest with you in it, but I hate the idea of moving boxes. Who wants to do that? And in the end, about 4 months after he went on and he said, look, I need help. And so I joined. I will tell you, it has been a joy. It's given us a wonderful life, a great opportunity to help people. So we do move boxes. We move commercial cargo. We move personal cargo. We move what's valuable to people. Okay. And so it's not just boxes ever. It is people's lives. It is their livelihoods. It's their businesses. And in addition to that, it's given us an opportunity to participate in the community because we do really everything we can to contribute and to help. And even when we weren't making any money, we were trying to do something. And, over time, you build a business and you provide employment, and it's really grown. So I am grateful to be part of this. I know that Hawk Logistics is grateful to be part of this. And, hopefully that in the stories that we tell over this podcast, that you realize the value of our company, but also the value of what we can do beyond our company.
Perfect, really nice. For us, it's a pleasure to have them. People from Brazil or who understands Portuguese have the opportunity to see the podcast we did with Arno. Was also perfect. It was a pleasure to have them. So go there. I'm gonna put the link on the description as well. Unfortunately, it's in Portuguese. Maybe Arno can come back here so we can do another one in English. Would be awesome. Okay, last but certainly not least, simply the best burger I ever had. I'm not saying just because they are our partner, right? But We Burger is a Brazilian company, and it's getting tremendous space here in Canada. The market is unbelievable. I remember the first time when I talked to Renato, I said, man, are you crazy? You're going to do one burger to Canadians. So it's the same there. Canadians go to Brazil, try to teach samba to them. But it's amazing. It's incredibly good. So they are make the difference for sure. So follow them. They are on the Winterfest and Harbourfront until the beginning of January, I believe so. And another pop-ups on the city. So follow them, weburger.ca. I'm pretty sure then try them, and then come back and put a comment, say, I told you, it's the best one for sure.
Well, I could do that one too. I didn't know he was there. So, because I met him for the first time at a Brazil-Canada Chamber of Commerce cocktail and had a great chat with him, but a very nice product. So isn't that exciting?
Yeah, he's nice. Very disruptive, right? So he's incredible, and how he playing everything. So it's good. Yes. We have a good team here.
Yeah, congratulations.
Okay, so no more message for our sponsor. So let's talk because we have lots of things to talk.
Sure.
Peter, Peter, talk to how was the beginning of your career?
So I am from New Brunswick, and that's in Canada's East Coast, and it's a lovely, quiet place where, in fact, everybody looks like me. And it's funny because it is a fundamentalist evangelical town that I'm from, and I'm related to everybody. So when you would say, "Hey, Hawkins," everybody looked because we all had the same name. And my grandmother, paid for a bunch of churches to be made, and so it was a very different world. And I know that a lot of Brazilians can certainly identify with the experience I had growing up. But ultimately, of course, you need to grow up and get away for many different reasons, and we can happily talk about those if you want to. And so I went away to university, and in university I loved books, and I eventually got a degree in English. And then after sort of fooling around and doing lots of waitering jobs, when I was 27 was the first time I got a job in publishing. But I got a great job. And I was a book rep. I sold books to bookstores, and then eventually that role grew, and I ended up selling just some beautiful books. The English Patient, which became a movie in 1980 and won the Oscar. Oh. And I don't know if you know The Handmaid's Tale. It's a series.
For sure. It's very famous.
That was a book I sold, Margaret Atwood's book. It made me a lot of money. I love that book.
Yeah, and it was broadcast, I think, in Cambridge, right?
Yes.
Part of them, right?
Yes, absolutely. And but you have to remember that was a long time ago, 30 years ago.
Oh, yeah, before the TV show, for sure. It was
because it was a book, right? Yeah. And so having that, and so that was my career. It was a very nice career. Then my company was bought by a big multinational, and they spun out most of us, including me. And so after struggling a little bit, then we fell into the role with Arno saying, I wanted to start this company and let's do it. So, because I had a little bit of money from a settlement. And so we did.
But you never worked with logistics before.
I had never even heard of freight forwarding until I owned a company.
It's a challenge for sure.
Yeah, very challenging. And poor Arno was, who had already been doing it for 10 years, was always constantly saying to me, oh, can you do this? Can you, order a tailgate? And I'm thinking, what's a tailgate? And can you order this? But of course, you fake it till you make it, right? Yeah. And I tried to learn every day and learn how to do things. But I also learned we have to hire some people who know what they're doing, because I don't. And but it took many years. It took about 5 or 6 years before we even started making money. And we did have a little pot of money that we could draw on, but it was tough, and you worry because you have a mortgage on your house for it, and what if it doesn't work? Because there's nothing to fall back on. If you start your own business, if you're an entrepreneur, you don't get unemployment insurance if it doesn't go right. You get nothing. And so you really have a big gamble. And but in the end, we started Mellowhawk Logistics. And in that, it's been 22 years now that we've had that business, and we've grown. We have 20 staff here in Toronto. We have staff in Miami and staff in LA. And we work with many agents around the world and some great agents in Brazil. And I know this is focused on Brazil, so let's talk about that. But in the process, we have had an opportunity to connect with different organizations. And we got to be registered with the Canadian consulate in São Paulo. And then that got me some introductions to different chambers of commerce. And so currently I am the co-chair of the Brazil-Canada Chamber of Commerce here in Canada. And I've been there I've been in the chamber for 10 or 11 years, but I've been co-chair for 6 years. And with Dan Rasica, who is another lovely guy. And what we do is we try to develop trade between Canada and Brazil, try to empower businesses, both Brazilian businesses coming here and Canadian businesses going there, and anybody else who wants to do business. And of course, with Mellowhawk Logistics, we want to move their cargo if there is cargo. And although these days it's all tech, and so we're not moving anything because it's ideas, but it's been very interesting, fascinating to be a part of.
Yeah, I'm impressed a little bit because you both have created this amazing company, but you also on the chamber, right? From the Arnold side, he's also on the co-seed, right?
Yes.
Excuse me. You're also try to give him back to the community, right? So you receive it from. This is amazing.
Well, it's really satisfying. It's really gratifying. The other thing, though, I think we both like to talk. And we have learned to, well, it's a funny thing. On Friday nights, we don't talk because we work together and we live together. And of course, you end up having that situation. How was your week? It sucked and it's all your fault. So I'm trying not to do that. So we try not to talk on Friday nights. But what happens on Friday nights? We both have meetings that we go to. And so the Consid has the happy hour once a month. There's different meetings there. I go to different meetings and that I'm a part of. And so I actually sit on 6 boards and for different kinds of organizations, and he I think has 3 boards and then participates in another 3 organizations as well. And we have a lot to offer. We have the ability to do it, and we're not ashamed of not trying it. There's lots of people. It's funny. We've had good and bad reaction, to be honest with you. We've had lots of wonderful reaction. There's some great people out there, smart people, and I want to encourage those people to do things too. But we've had other people too who have, I don't know, attacked us for our volunteerism. So you have to balance. One of those things I always say about Brazilians is they all have opinions, and and some of them are very valuable and important, and other ones you have to say, yeah, okay, grain of salt.
Hey, what are actually the most challenging things that you have facing, like when you try to help people, like for looking for jobs here? Because you're also like in the same field that we are, right?
Yes, that's one of the reasons why I'm really happy to be here, because in fact we're talking about something that I think is maybe one of the most important things that I'm involved in, and that is helping people get jobs. And I don't mean getting jobs as an Uber driver. I really believe that if you're a newcomer to Canada, you should come here for yourself, not your children. And you're bringing great skills, and it's a huge waste if we don't take advantage of those things. I need you to pay for my retirement, so I need you working in great jobs.
Exactly.
So what I have discovered is at Mellowhawk, as we were hiring people, we actually found that the best experience was no Canadian experience.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting.
We're an international shipping company. We need people who understand what's going on at home, understand the diaspora here and their friends who are here and their network that's here, and understand the opportunities between the home country and this country. And of course, we don't just do Brazil. We have Vietnam, and we have China, and we have Philippines, and we have the United States, and we have various other countries to India. But what has helped us is understanding that these people are coming here with great skills, wonderful training, but they don't know how to articulate what their experience is to a Canadian employer, and a Canadian employer doesn't understand what the answer is anyway. So I started asking, so tell me about your journey to Canada. And every one of our staff had terrible stories. They worked in car washes outside in the wintertime with wet boots and catching colds. They were doing jobs that were warehouse work where they may have been mistreated because of their status was not secure, or they couldn't articulate what their status was. And underpaid in many situations because a newcomer will take a lower salary than somebody locally here, a native born person. And I just hearing those stories and realizing that their journey to employment was full of obstacles, sometimes obstacles they created, but mostly obstacles because they just didn't know what to do. So I decided, what would be the advice that I would like to have received if I came? And it's funny too, because probably half our staff came to us because of speeches Arno and I came up to us afterwards and talked to us. And then I gave workshops online, and they perfected their presentations and stuff like that. So, but that's something I just said. Brazilians are full of opinions. Canadians, there's a cliche about Canadians. We're so polite. I would like to add to that cliche. We are very polite, and we are not helpful. Okay? Why? Because we always say, oh, that's great. Thank you. Nice to meet you, when it clearly is not nice to meet you. If you have some problem, you're doing something wrong, we are never going to tell you. We are never going to tell you. So my belief is that I'm going to tell you. Okay, I have no control of your career, and I'm an old guy doing things unrelated to you, but I hope I do it with kindness. I hope I do it with an attitude that you will be receptive to. But I will tell you what you're doing wrong. And
That's good, because one of the differences we just realized in the podcast here when we're talking, because in Brazil, when you do something wrong, your boss go direct to you and say, okay, you did wrong. In Canada, when your boss want to say you did something wrong, first they're gonna list a list of 10 things. 9 are good, and then 1 is the bad thing. And then for us like Brazilian, when you realize it, okay, if I do like 9% good, I'm good. But no, actually, the purpose of this meeting is just to talk about the one that you did wrong.
You are so right. That is exactly how we do it. And it's funny because when I talk to Brazilians who tell me that I've done something wrong, and they do, I sometimes think, oh, you don't know English very well, which is why you're being so blunt. But the fact is, that's not the situation at all. They're trying to be honest with me. They're trying to be candid. My emails used to be Canadian style. Hi, so-and-so. Hope you're doing fine. I'm looking for something, blah, blah, blah. Can you send it to me right away? Thank you very much. Okay, that's not a Brazilian email. No, when I now do my emails to Brazilians and to people all over the world, hi, so-and-so. How are you? How is your Christmas? How is your family? We're doing this. Are you doing that? Da, 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 da. When you get a chance, could you send this to me? I would love to have it. Thank you very much. It is a whole preamble, and it's very personal, because I realize a lot of cultures are very, very relationship-based. And generally, we're not. Generally, we're task-based.
Yeah.
I need this. And I don't mean to be impolite. I don't think I'm being impolite. I'm being clear.
Yeah.
I like to say we're Germans with a smile.
But it's just a fact that you have to adapt. I used to say that I'm completely a new professional here that I was in Brazil. In Brazil, lots of informality when you work, like lot of jokes, these kind of things. And here in Canada, like 80% of the jokes that people are doing is not allowed here in Canada. So because you have the respect for yourself, for the other. In Brazil, respect is a different way. Here, you are in a professional environment. You have to be polite. You have to respect. I'm not saying in Brazil they are not, but it's different. You have to be here to understand. And at the end of the day, I think the Canadian way works better. It's more efficient. I don't know, from my perspective.
More efficient, perhaps. But what I think cultural differences have to be respected. Sure. And we have an idea here in Canada that we are working from people from all over the world with different perspectives. And what I have learned is there is, because, okay, look at me. I'm a blue-eyed white guy. I have nothing but privilege, okay? I am at the top of the food chain in terms of demanding anything. And what I have learned is there are many food chains. There are many different opportunities for success, many different paths to success. And so I always try to look at outcomes, not how you do it. But culturally in our office, everybody is from somewhere else. I'm the only Canadian-born person in the company, in all of Mellowhawk. Everyone is from somewhere else. And so 2 things. 1, we listen to their journey. Tell us how you got here. We always do that. But 2, we also listen to what the problems are. And I have to be honest with you, sometimes I do intervene and say, that subject will not be brought up in this company. Because you have to remember too, the world is a complicated place. And whether you're from Gaza, whether you're from Ukraine, from Russia, from Syria, or you're from Brazil and you're actually, depending on which side you are in the federal election, it can really impact how you work with people. So my view is you do not bring conflict to the office. There are conflicts. You can talk about them outside the office. You can make posts about them. You can do all the things you're entitled to do because you're free. But just in the office, you must work with whoever's beside you. And get the job done. That has to be the focus. If you can't do that, you can't work for us. And so I'm very upfront about that when you start. When I see a conversation that might be going the wrong direction, I will intervene. And I get to intervene because I'm the boss, but also I use my privilege. I must admit, I'm the first to stick my nose in and say, we won't be talking about that here. No. But in the conflicts at the office, take a guess. I'm going to get you to guess. What is the number one problem I have with the staff at the office? What is the number one thing they complain about?
let's try. If I see from my experience about the office environment, it's to be in the office, right? Well, because everyone wants to be online, right?
Oh, okay. Well, that's a whole different thing,
Yeah.
and I'll talk about that too. But that's not what I'm talking about here.
Okay.
Something else.
Let's see. To be, I don't know. From the Brazilian perspective, I can say the huge difference here in Canada because everyone is like pretty punctual, right? You have to be on time, and that's something that I learned since the beginning. But for Brazilians, I know this is a challenge for sure.
Okay, that's number 3.
Oh, number 3.
Maybe number
okay,
3.
I have 2 more.
Okay, you don't have to guess them all.
Okay,
I'll tell you.
okay.
Okay. So number 1 is the temperature in the office.
That's for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody has something to say about the temperature.
Yeah, that's so true.
And so the temperature is 72 degrees Fahrenheit in the office. It's 22 degrees. Okay. And it's perfectly reasonable. However, every Brazilian is wearing not enough clothes. And so my rule is bring a sweater, hang it on the back of your chair, put it on. And so
I know this problem in Brazil was worse, you know, because people are complaining about the air conditioning all the time.
Yes.
And it's simple because we are men. Like if you are feeling cold, just go up, put it on a jacket. It's easy to solve. But the opposite, you can or you can do.
Yes, exactly.
Especially if I'm on suits because I used to work on suits.
Yes.
What am I gonna do?
Well, it's funny because I encourage everybody to bring a jacket and wear a jacket and to be comfortable with it. Take it off, put it on. That's number 1. Number 2, interestingly enough, are the food smells in the kitchen because everybody's from a different culture.
So true.
And so my view on that is if you're going to bring something stinky, bring enough to feed everybody. Okay? We're all going to try it. And if it's booed, then don't bring it again. And so it's been an interesting exercise because people are very cognizant of what other people are, how they feel, and very sympathetic and trying to get the right smells in the office at the right time. And it's funny because when I'm talking to people too about things they can do to improve their chances of getting a job, one thing I always say is never hang your outdoor clothes, your winter jacket or anything close to your kitchen because it'll absorb the food smells and the frying food smells.
So true.
And so that is a real difficulty.
But this is so sensitive, Peter, because it's hard to avoid. I remember my last experience in Brazil. I was working in a wealth management company, and then there was a kitchen, and they prohibited everyone to have lunch there because you are receiving some investors. You can imagine a guy go there. With all respect to the cultures, I'm not saying this, but fish has a really strong smell, right? You can imagine if I go like a billionaire and do investments in your company, going to feel the smell of some fish. You know, is something that more.
Okay, and I do put a veto on fish. Don't bring your damn fish. I do say that 100%. But it's funny because in our workplace too, not everything is well received that I talk about, and some things we have to have bigger discussions about. But generally, time, smells, temperature are the big obstacles, not the political problems, not those confrontations.
Yeah.
Everybody's professional, and that's something that I remind everybody. When you're talking about your work experience in your past job, in your past home, you were professional. No. And so behave in a professional way and reassure your future employer that you will behave in a professional way.
Yeah, true. This is so important as well. Other thing, I think Brazilians really like to touch, right? And Canadians don't like to touch. And usually when you're like newcomers, they don't know this. Yeah. When you have been for a while, you have to compliment like a woman. We are as a man, right? As a handshake. But for like Brazilians, it's so weird because when I saw some people like hugging, like people that you don't know, it's so weird because it's clear that the other person is completely uncomfortable with the situation, right?
Well, you've hit something else too, and it's kind of a complicated thing because you're a big guy, I'm a big guy, and so just by standing close to someone, we can be intimidating. And so I have to be very aware of where I am in a conversation, but I also have to be close enough that I can hear them. And so that's something else that always, is kind of funny to me. But I give a whole class on a handshake because the hugging, the Brazilian hug, there's a couple of Brazilian hugs. Okay, there is the hug hello, and now I can hug. I know how to hug. However, in professional things, when I'm hugging, I'm the worst hugger in the world. I will do this weird thing where I sort of squeeze your shoulders, but I'm still keeping distance between my body and your body. And, I know that's a stupid hug, but it's the one that I have compromised on because I'm not going to be in a situation where someone could feel threatened.
No.
Now, in the kissing and all that kind of stuff, I'm not going to be kissing anybody. But the handshake is interesting. For me, people laugh because they say when I shake your hand, I always push them away a little bit. And I don't mean to do that, but I think I might do it. But what I do always say is a handshake is one shake with a smile. And it's not too strong. Let's give me your hands. Okay. In fact, I want you to hold my hand a little stronger. And now one shake and a smile. Too strong, you want my job. Too
really?
soft, you can't do my job. It's got to be right in the middle. That's balance. And always with a smile. And everybody shakes hands with everybody, and you stand to shake hands. A lot of women still sit and reach up to shake a hand. No, everyone stands. When you shake a hand, you stand. That is a formal, traditional, proper Canadian greeting.
That's so nice to understand perfect, because I had some guys that when do the handshake, they press your hand so hard.
Ridiculous.
Right? Yeah.
Ridiculous. And that's a power struggle. Right away, that person will not be getting a job in my company. Okay? I'll even talk to them about it, but I won't hire them.
Interesting to know.
Okay. Now, many cultures do not have a handshake. Okay.
Oh, true.
Yes, and since they don't have a handshake, it can be an awkward thing too. So you get the dead fish handshake,
Oh,
and apparently fish is wrong in any professional environment, whether you're eating it or shaking hands like one. But so I encourage people to show them how. There are a lot of younger women these days that have not had a handshake in their culture, or have through COVID, during the times when you would learn those kinds of things, they've been home and haven't been in social environments. So to get them in an environment to learn how to do a proper handshake, and it's not a complicated thing, but if you do it right, it gives confidence for the employer that you know what you're doing. Okay? By reaching out, one shake with a smile, it's gold. You don't know how important that is, how welcoming that is. And everybody doing it with everybody. Now, there are some cultures who won't shake hands. And so if a woman perhaps won't shake hand with a man, refuses to shake hands, then you just ignore it and move on. But keep in mind, the non-handshaking person is taking a 30 to 50% hit in their income.
Really? Oh, that's interesting.
Why would I pay you to do a job that you can only do half a job? Okay, they're limited to jobs where there's no handshaking. So call centers. Okay, and that's a terrible thing. Smart, capable, dynamic individuals are trapped because there's a cultural dynamic that they can't fulfill. And you are entitled, allowed to do whatever you want. You can make whatever choices you want, but understand what those choices are. And I condemn no one. I just let you know the reality is, if you want to make an income in this country, then you've got to do some of the things that we do. And people say, Canada has no culture. Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Yes, we do. You talked about the fact that we give them 10 things, 9 of which are compliments and one is one bad thing. But in fact, that's the thing we're talking about. That indirect speech of Canadians is going to kill people. I know, but it really is the truth. It really is the truth. We always, we call it indirect speech. We always, we are never direct. We never say, I want you to do this, because to our ear, it sounds mean. And I just want to get something done. And so we will say, I think if we were to consider doing things this way, we might be able to move ahead.
Yeah.
Okay? Now that sounds like I'm giving you a choice. It's not. I'm not giving you a choice. I'm telling you to do it this way.
I think just a matter to know exactly, to know the rules, right? Because other thing, for example, in Brazil, the results more important than everything. So I used to work in some projects that regardless of what I had to do, I just had to provide the results. Here in Canada, it's not like that. They value, of course, the results you have to do, but the way how to manage people, like how they was able to overcome the challenge, so much more important, right? Because if you got the results, but provide some bad attitudes on the work environment, so So it means they're not to be a valuable person to keep still working on the company, right? So lots of things that make on my mind make lots of sense, But I had to adapt when I was in Brazil to what the market is expecting from me now.
Well, okay. First of all, you're a guy who can adapt, and you're also a guy who can adapt super quickly. Like, I think in one handshake, you can sum something up. And so not everybody can do that. So I really try to lay out all the rules, all the little choices that they can make in order to get where you can make just on a dime. But I worry because the outcome is absolutely important, as you know. But the fact is, how you get there, the fact we are working 8, 9, 10 hours a day together, it's got to be a pleasant experience. I am not going to let somebody be a terrible, rude, abrupt person to the rest of the staff. And I always say to people, we have the 3 things an employer wants. Okay. The first thing is I want the hard skills. I want you to have the skills to do the job. And I want you to do the job well. You don't have to be the best person at the job. People say, I want the best candidate. Yeah. The best candidate's a combination of things. I want someone who has the hard skills. Then I want someone who is not a hassle, who actually makes the environment a pleasant place, the soft skills. And then I want someone who can actually follow instructions. Okay? Those 3 things. And every employer wants those 3 things. So how do you show that you have those 3 things? First, you will show that I have the education and I have the training and I have the certification, whatever it is you're going to be, if you're going to be an engineer, whatever it is. And if you went to FGV and you're trying to show that, that's an important school.
Yeah. In Brazil, yeah.
Yes.
But some people here in Canada, they even don't know.
Of course they don't know it. So tell them. Tell them it's the U of T of Brazil. It's the MIT of Brazil. Whatever you want to, or you give them context. Okay. The second thing is, in terms of the soft skills, you show how you don't escalate. You solve problems. And we have a running joke too with the men and women. Men see a mess on the floor, and they go, "There's a mess on the floor," and women clean up the mess on the floor. So I would love to have more people clean up the mess on the floor.
It's a problem finder, right? So he just find the problem they're not able to solve.
Or I call them problem announcers. They always say, "There's a problem." yeah. What's the answer? You haven't finished. Telling me that. And then but the following instructions, that's super important too. Oh, yeah. And Brazilians are terrible at it. I'm going to officially say Brazilians are terrible at following instructions. And I'll give you the example.
Sure.
Because I will say, I want you to do 5 things before you contact me. For instance, on their LinkedIn, I'll tell them 5 things to do on their LinkedIn before you contact me. They will do 1 or 2 and contact me. Did I do it right? And the answer is no, you did not. There were 5 things. Okay? And if you had questions, you should have asked them back when I was giving the instructions. Now, it falls down on me not giving clear instructions. But what I think is so interesting is there is, and I chalk it up to Brazilians only because, to be honest, the quality of work that comes out of Brazilians is very high. The sophistication that comes out of Brazilians is very high. So if I can criticize them on something, I'm going to do it. But what I think is interesting here is there's a whole group of young people who need reassurance. And I need people who can get things done. And you don't have to do it the way I do it. You just have to get to that outcome in a positive way. Full stop. And there are lots of different paths. As I said before, when I listened to everybody's journeys and what the way they would do things, it may not be the way that I would do things, but if they get the right outcome and nobody is injured, then I'm okay with it.
It's important. Yeah, for sure. And the thing about following instructions is something interesting because I also have to adapt. For example, my boss, she's from Scotland. It's different. She's so directly. I like to do because it's my style. So we are working real well together because she's directly. She doesn't go through the Canadian style, even though she has been here for around 30 years, but she's still like very Scotch very directly. And okay, it's different styles. You have to adapt. It depends on her. But for example, when I talk to her boss, like, it's the Canadian style. It's different. Yeah, so it's different ways to understand, to talk, to express, that I have to express myself in order to allow him to understand. It's different, when I talk to other people, and that's the challenge here in Canada, because okay, she from Scotland, beside me has a girl from India, and there is another guy for, I don't know, Ireland, so you have to adapt to different styles. You have to be very adaptive all the time here. What is good, you can become a better professional.
And my answer is yes, you have to adapt. Okay, I have to adapt. And so I think that I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all. I have something to say about Scotland. First of all, I'd never been to Scotland until, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. We went and we loved it. It was just lovely. Can't wait to go back. But did you know that Canada is a Scottish idea?
Really? I didn't know that.
The Scottish Enlightenment had these ideas of independence and democracy. And so as the immigrants came over here, Nova Scotia is actually New Scotland. The Pilgrims in the United States had the Mayflower. We have the Hector. The Hector was the ship that landed in New Glasgow, Nova Scotia, in Antigonish, New Glasgow, and brought the first Scottish immigrants. And they were the ones who created the independent state of Canada, the first Prime Minister, Sir John A. Macdonald. The various flags that were in those provinces are all created by people who were originally born in Scotland. It's nice. Really interesting. The Scottish Enlightenment, Canada is the Scottish Enlightenment idea.
Yeah. Do you have some background for Scotland?
Not very much, but when I grew up, the name McDonald was the biggest name in the phone book. McDonald. Yeah. Nowadays it's something else from, Asia or wherever. But, for years and years and years, the M's was the biggest section in the phone book. Oh, you don't remember a phone book? Okay, a phone book.
I remember. I'm not that young. I remember. So we had to play Brazil, yeah.
Yeah. So, but it's funny about adapting to people. You have to. And I have to adapt on many levels, not just from where they come from, but also on their age and their experience. As I talk to people about the obstacles that they have to cross, there are people who say, I am from a country that is got all kinds of cliches against it, stereotypes against it, and I'm trying to find ways to get around those. Then I have other people who talk about age. I deal with a lot of people who are in late middle career who've been fired, who are now looking for a job. And it's very tough if you're 50 years old and your experience is wonderful, but you're out of touch in the young person's game of looking for a job, because the decision maker looking for a job is 35. And if you're 50 and you have 2 decades worth of experience, that 35-year-old person thinks you're dead. And you're not dead. You're coming with a wealth of experience and a wealth of ability and technology and the ability to deal with people. And it's funny because I have to remind really good candidates what they have, the power they have, and what's good about them, because everybody focuses on the negative. And the number of times I've heard people say, I am from Brazil. Brazil is a third world country. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm fully aware Brazil has lots of problems. Canada has lots of problems too. But the sophistication I have seen in Brazil, in Brazilian business, in Brazilian professionalism, is impressive. Highly sophisticated. When I take trade missions down, companies to Brazil for the first time, I took 6 last year, they were blown away. Blown away. São Paulo, Rio, Floripa, Porto Alegre. We go to those cities, and they are impressive. The business world is impressive, and I want to remind people coming from Brazil that they are bringing really valuable things to this country when they're coming. Now, they may be leaving for all kinds of reasons, and it's funny too, because you hear about the people who are coming. Who are have no status here, whether they are quote unquote illegal or whatever. People come for many reasons, and people are accepted for many reasons. We already know that in construction there is a tolerance for a certain level of legality in terms of the status of people who come here. In other things, there's not. You have to be very rigid and come with it all the way. But what I'm trying to remind everyone is, you're bringing something valuable, something we need, and I want you to come for you, and I want you to come with an understanding that what you're bringing is going to really help this country and help yourself.
Yeah.
That was a really convoluted thing. Sorry.
That's so important because other aspects Peter, that I like to discuss with you is good to talk with a native speaker, because lots of people when talk to me say I'm not really feel confident about my English, and the advice that usually I give to them is basically, you're gonna talk with a person. They are not like a Cambridge expert. They're gonna analyze all the details of your grammar, everything. They're gonna understand the reasoning behind. If it makes sense what you say, of course you're gonna make some mistakes. I make some mistakes. So it's common, right? But I'm able to have a conversation with a professional in English, and that's why they are able to perform your job. You don't have to have like perfect English or perfect execution. And nowadays you have like the AI tools, right, to help to write an email. So lots of like tools that didn't have in the past. So the last 2-3 years was great to help with these challenges. So
Well, it's funny because there's several things that you just reminded me. If you can have a conversation and communicate an idea, then you speak English. Full stop. Everybody in Canada has English as a second language, except for me. Everybody else does. Everybody. And everybody in Toronto, for sure, and in the GTA, and the large cities. The number of people who have English as a second language is amazing. And as a result, if you can communicate an idea, then you just should go ahead and do it. Okay? Now, I am quite critical on emails, because we have so many ways to make emails clear. And especially in my business, emails matter.
it's strong documentation, right?
A lot of documentation, but the simplest email, to and from, prepositions, and Brazil, they're killing me.
Yeah.
They're killing me.
Yeah, this is, I think, is the I heard from like English for professors and teachers. They said the hardest part for Brazilians to be really good in English is the prepositions.
And the same with English speakers learning Portuguese.
Yeah.
It's the exact same thing. But in our business, it's very bad because to and from. If I get them confused, the cargo is going the wrong direction.
Exactly.
Okay, so that is a problem. And so what I always stress to people is one thought per email. So don't put 10 things in. You put one thought per email. You know, you do the hello greeting and all that kind of stuff, and then just the one key thing. And make sure you put it through the Outlook review program or whatever it is to make sure it's spelled correctly, and then send. So do not go for a book. Do not go for a Bible. Do not go for a long paragraph. It is one thought per email. Okay, and so simplifying communication. The other thing is, when you were saying that people generally are afraid to speak English because they don't think their English is perfect. Perfection, they always say perfection is the enemy of progress. I think perfection is the enemy of success. Okay? The only way you can succeed is if you try. But if you're waiting to be perfect, you're not going to succeed. Okay? So that's it. No interest. You can't work for me. Okay? You need to be somebody who is willing to try. So you're already a hero because you came here. You left everything safe. You left your home country, came to a new country willing to try. Now, I guarantee it wasn't what you expected, okay? And you're still here. So you are already a leader. You're already a mentor. You're already somebody who can accomplish things. Don't live in fear. Just do it. Just get out and do it.
Yeah, that's so important. I think the limitation there, I think not only Brazilians, right, but people like immigrants in general, right, they have, and they create like a barrier that, okay, you need a minimum of language, right, to work and to perform well on interviews, but you have other aspects that are also important. A lot of things that I mentioned now is so important for immigrants. But from your experience, Peter, like what you do think is the main challenge, other than you say, for people that are looking for jobs, or the main mistakes they are making?
I have a list, and I'm going to begin with they don't have a network. Okay? In Canada, you've heard the statistics. It's like 80% of jobs are not advertised. So how do people fill those jobs? How do people find those jobs? They find them because they're talking to people who are talking to people who say, I have an opportunity. Okay? And so the number one thing you can do is start talking to people outside your culture. If you are talking to somebody who doesn't look like you, then you have already opened up opportunities. And remember, your own culture has I call it a shorthand, but what I mean is If I go to somebody who is, I'm from Brazil, I'm meeting somebody else from Brazil, and then I'm going to do a job for them, they still have in their, maybe subconscious, maybe not, the old salary from back home. And maybe wouldn't be willing to pay the salary that you really need to earn here in order to survive. So get out of your culture. Okay? Start looking for something outside. It's easy to stay in your culture, but to have success, you have to get out. That's probably the first thing. That networking plan. The next thing is applying for real jobs. Apply for a job that actually exists. I see people all the time. I sent out resumes, 50 resumes, 60 resumes. In my life, in my 45 years of working, I've sent out maybe 10 resumes.
Really?
More like 8 resumes.
Interesting.
Okay? I don't send out resumes. I got the job through networking, having a conversation. And do you know when I produced the resume? After I'd been hired for the file.
God, it makes lots of sense.
Okay. Now I can talk. Okay. I'm a big talker. But what I'm getting at here is I see people not understanding how the job market works here. And so do you mind if I take a minute just to sort of describe how it works?
Please, you have all the time. Go ahead.
There are kind of 3 elements that you should be aware of. First of all, if you do not have a professional looking LinkedIn profile, you are not in business. Okay. And that means the background banner. That means a head and shoulders shot of you with a jacket. And, for women, hair under control, non-dramatic makeup. Okay? Don't make it about your lipstick. Make it about your skills. For men, and for both, the uniform of the job. If you're in finance, light shirt, dark suit, tie. In my business, it is a jacket and an open neck shirt. In a tech business, and it's funny because in a lot of startups you can get away with a hoodie and all that kind of stuff, but you should try to look better than everyone else. Okay, that's the goal. Look better than everyone else. Warm, welcoming photograph. You have a smile. Okay, if you have your passport photo, terrible. If you have a cropped wedding photo, cropped grad photo, cropped any photo, terrible. You should have a photo that a cell phone is fine, not a selfie, because you need to be just a couple of more centimeters away to get the right shot. Have somebody take 40 pictures of you, head and shoulders, okay? And you're smiling, ooh, ah, ooh, ah, ooh, making all these crazy smiles, but 2 of those are going to be okay? And let the person who took the picture choose the photo. It's not a glamour photo. It is a photo of you looking like a warm, welcoming professional. Okay. Number 1, that's the photo. You're going to use a background image. That banner behind your picture, stick something in there. That's 20% of the image on your computer screen when you're looking at your LinkedIn profile. Steal someone else's. If you are in engineering, go look at some engineer and steal their photo. Okay. There's no rules against that. If it's public
lots
space.
of sites with the AI tools, right?
Exactly. It's if you're going to Google LinkedIn banner photo, banner BANNER, you can do that. Sure. For mine, LinkedIn profile either promotes you as a candidate or someone with an agenda. I have an agenda. I'm not looking for a job. I'm pushing ideas. So I created a collage to show that I was the authority on those ideas. I'm a businessman of the year. I'm an authority on different things. And so I have my awards up there. But if you are looking for a job, you want to show that you are in the culture of that job. In transportation, in our industry, I'm looking for planes, trains, and automobiles. Okay. In engineering, I want to have the things that look like engineering. In tech, finance, I want the images to reflect that. Your name. Brazilians have 5 names. They all have gazillions of names. Choose 1 first name and 1 second name. LinkedIn is an advertisement for you as a product. What's the name of your product? If it is Mario Lopez, that's a mistake. It's got to be just 1 first name, 1 second name. And so choose the first name, whatever you're normally called. How do you introduce yourself?
Yeah, I say Rodrigo Goulart, even though I have my middle name, but I say Rodrigo Goulart, but my first and last name.
There you go, first and last name. That's what we want.
Yeah.
And that's also what's going to be on your resume, and that's what's going to be on your email signature, because you want the branding to be the same. When I see somebody, and even on your Zoom call, the name on the bottom of the Zoom call, because I'll find somebody with the 5 names there, and the 3 names there, and the 2 names there, and the nickname, and I'm thinking, who are these people? And it's all one person. Yeah. You in business and in looking for a job, make sure that you're not confusing people. Okay. So we have a portrait picture, we have a banner picture. So I'm not even talking about your skills, right? I'm talking about the stuff that matters first. You need to have contact information, an email and a phone number. And a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm uncomfortable doing the phone number." Put your damn phone number in there.
Yeah.
Okay? And just block people who are problematic.
Exactly.
Okay? Put your phone number in. Why? I'm busy. If I have to send an email for a candidate I'm interested in, I'll send the email, but I'll keep on looking. And whoever's got a phone number is what I'm going to call.
Yeah.
Okay?
It's faster, right? You can do the pre-screen as well, right?
I can find out if your English is something that I can understand. You're already advanced. If I have to send an email, wait for you to call me, and then some stranger calls me because the name on their phone, it doesn't match the name on their resume, it may not happen. Okay?
Yeah.
So good contact information, but don't put your birthday.
True. Yeah.
Okay? And
because you're gonna figure out your age, right?
well, if we're going to figure out your age, but even worse, the number of people said, I don't like Capricorns. I
Really?
think, oh my God, how silly.
I never thought about that.
But don't create an obstacle, even if a silly obstacle. Don't create one. Okay? Now, if you have an advanced degree, an MBA or whatever you have, put it with your name. LinkedIn doesn't like it, but employers do.
Yeah.
Okay? So I want to see your first name, your second name, and your the letters of your degree. Then the next underneath is the headline. There's 260 characters you can use there, and that's 4 lines. I want to have that as buzzwords. Do not go University of Waterloo, FGV, unless you are an award winner at those. Why? Because it's already on the other side. Your last good company and your universities on the other side of the LinkedIn profile. I want the buzzwords. In my business, it's documentation, Incoterms, geography. In your business, what is it? What are the key words that you'd like to see somebody with your PMP training, certification?
Process improvement, in my case, the project management kind of words. Yeah.
Exactly. And if you have lean and all that kind of stuff,
exactly.
you want to have those words
Yeah.
because this is also where the search terms are. All right. Then you also want in geography, all the shipping businesses are in the West End. So don't say Scarborough. I'm not even going to call you if you said Scarborough. Okay. It's a 2-hour commute. You're never going to work for me. So GTA. Okay. Just GTA is plenty. And that'll, suddenly it becomes a non-issue. You minimize obstacles that you could potentially create. The next thing is your about essay. The first essay is what you are. The second essay is your accomplishments. And the third is what you want. And there's paragraphs. So, I am a graduate of Centennial College with 10 years experience in Brazil at blah, blah, blah. Okay. That's your opening line, which is also your elevator pitch. Okay. Very simple, nice, and then whatever kinds of other things that you can stick in there that are the technical terms, and then your next paragraph, which can be in point form too, is any awards or anything like that, and then finally what you want, what you're looking for. In the first person, it's I. It's not, Peter Hawkins is a blah blah blah. We know you're writing it, just write it and be a human being about it. Now we still haven't gotten to your skills, okay? But it has to be long enough. That essay has to be long enough that I have to go to read more. Why? Read more means I click on it. There is activity on your profile and the algorithm says, oh, people look at this profile. You will go up in the algorithm. Even if you have every keyword I'm looking for, you have to remember that there'll be 20,000 other people with the right keywords. You'll never come. What you need to do is 2 things. Have a completely filled out profile and have activity on your profile.
Yeah,
okay.
This is perfect, Peter, what I say, because I talked with also a LinkedIn expert. He said about the 3-3-30 rule. It's 3 seconds to your headings, 3 seconds to your banner. Then if passes on these 2 first stages, they go to the third one, going to be an about.
Yes.
And they go about 30 seconds there.
That's only 30 seconds. So it can't be a dense paragraph. It's listing stuff is fine. And the more technical your job is, the more listing, the more buzzwords. And you do want to repeat words. Okay, you want to repeat them because your essay is also a place that has search words. Finally, we get to your education and your skills. Education, probably 20 words about each institution. If you won any prizes, awards, scholarships, say so. And then in your job, about 50 words, but you want to show growing responsibility. If you have any international company that you worked for, Nestle, Unilever, whatever it is, Xerox or IBM or whatever, make sure that's front and center. Why? International companies that you work for are a implicit endorsement of you.
Interesting.
Even though you worked in IBM Brazil, it feels to me like you worked IBM here. Okay. And so, and I know you're going to say Brazil, it's all Brazil and all that kind of stuff, but I believe IBM is IBM. And they worked for IBM. Already you made a jump, okay, with the global brands.
Yeah. Do you know other interesting period? I'm not sure if you're aware. In Brazil, they mess with the term MBA. I'm not sure if you know that.
I do know that, yes.
Yeah, MBA in Brazil is like a post-graduation course. It's not an MBA.
Exactly. And so what's really important there is when you're talking about the institution and talking MBA, and I've seen it too. And so, but I believe that's something that the interviewer should be asking questions about. Okay. And keep in mind, if you're caught, then you're going down.
Yeah.
However, you should be using Canadian titles. Like if you're coming from India and you're 25 years old and you're a VP of marketing, you're actually an assistant manager of marketing.
Oh.
And even though you're called VP, you should be using the Canadian title for that level of responsibility. Yeah. I will never believe that a 24-year-old is a VP of anything.
Yeah, there are some interesting. For example, in Brazil, coordinator is a level that is a little bit below the manager.
Yes,
but here Canada is different.
Yes,
the coordinator is not. It's a very like I'm gonna say maybe I'm gonna say it's not an entry level, but it's
close.
It's close, right?
Now it's funny because that's the main title role we use in our industry. So it depends on your industry. Okay, yes. So an import-export coordinator is somebody who could be making 45,000, or they could be making 145,000. Okay, but that's the name of the job in our industry. But you are right. Rule of thumb: coordinator could be even an entry level job. Okay, whereas it's quite a senior role in Brazil. And so in Brazil, you have to use, you can say manager, coordinator, or something like that. I would stick the word manager in there, especially because that is a managing role. Keep in mind, are you managing activities or are you managing people?
People. On this case, right? Here, I think depends, as I said, on the industry, but when people put coordinator, like they try to reflect it in Brazil, but he is different. Just have to understand, even some positions, I had the opportunity to interview some guys here, and they're not looking for exactly the same position in Canada because they're translating from Portuguese to English, and sometimes it doesn't make sense. It's a completely different role. You have to be careful, right? To make sure they read the description of the activity, right? To make sure that you are looking for the right job, the right position.
Well, that leads me to part two of the elements that you need. So a complete LinkedIn profile. Don't spend 1 cent on it, but do spend some time on it, okay, to get it right. And you're going to tweak it and tweak it and tweak it anyway. The next thing, of course, is going to be your resume, and you will have to make a resume because you will need it. The basics of the resume remain the same all the time. The beginning section that is tailored toward the job you're applying for, that you can change, because what you're doing is you're not going to lie in your resume. You're just going to focus on the skills that apply to that job. Okay? So LinkedIn and the resume. The next thing is the search for the job itself. If you're on LinkedIn, and you should target companies and target decision makers. And you also, I used to do a lot of work with Persica, which is the Persian business group. And I did a lot of mentoring with them, and they came up with some wonderful algorithms and some formulas. For instance, they over and over again, they said if you had 800 new contacts on your LinkedIn, then your job would be revealed to you. 800 was the number.
Interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
It's okay. It's interesting, but sounds to me, I don't know, like not that much. You know, it
doesn't sound like that much at all. People have 30,000.
Exactly.
Yes, and so I think that's a very interesting thing, that it's not that much, and that's a network that's accessible. Like if you go to a party, you could go to an event where you might know 100 people. Okay, that's perfectly reasonable. Now imagine this is an event that's virtual. You might know. Like I know that thousands of people know me, and so that network really does work. So and COVID was the great equalizer. Why? We're all at home, and now you don't have to go through the gatekeeper who's keeping you from the person you want to talk to. You can contact them directly.
Oh, true.
Okay, so what you want to do is this: if you have a finished LinkedIn profile, you have your resume ready because they may ask for it. But from now on, it's going to be small, delicate conversations, small conversations. It's not going to be big, and it's going to be direct. It's going to be targeted. So you want to work for, let's say, Nike, okay? Something that people would love to, but there's no jobs there. So you want to work for Nike. What you're going to do is you're going to write in Nike and now the job role you want. So say you want advertising coordinator. So you're going to put Nike advertising coordinator, and you're going to look under jobs, see if that job exists. Okay, great. And if there's a process, you follow the instructions for the process. However, you are also going to go under people and see who has that job. And you're going to scroll down and look at all the people who have, maybe it was a past job, who show up there. If any of those people, and you open up their profiles, read the profiles. Is their profile your profile? Is there anything that's similar? Anything you can steal? Anything you can make better on your profile? Is there anything that you can learn from? Are they people who post? Some people don't post at all, but other people, they post the company line, the company ads, or they post real thoughts. If they post, you are going to comment on their post. You're not going to press connect. You can press follow. Don't press connect. Brazilians are notorious for connect. That's mosquitoes. Yeah. Don't do it. It means nothing. It means nothing. I have 20 or 30 connect requests a day. And when I get a chance, I'll browse through them and I will accept 2 or 3. I ignore the rest. They're trying to sell me something. I don't see the connection. No. They didn't approach me properly. Now, I understand if they didn't approach me properly because of an English factor, then I will help them. But otherwise,
it's tough because, some people, they approach from sales perspective. For example, for me, lots of guys from India, they try to offer me the PMP. But they say, come on, at least check my profile. I'm already the PMP, so why are you offering something that I already have?
Immediate delete. Yeah. I don't even know. I don't even respond. I have no need to respond. That's
yeah, because at least give some time, go there, research a little bit about who I'm looking for. They offer me PMP, Lean Six Sigma Black Belt, everything that I have.
Well, what's interesting is I'm showing them how to research. Okay, we're doing it. But if, say someone posts, okay, and they post Nike is the best brand out there. And so they're going to comment and said, I'm so glad to see somebody who is proud of their company. Were you always a fan of Nike or did you grow into it? That's your comment. Okay, what you're going to do is two things. You're going to show you read the post and you want to ask a question so they give you an answer. I love so important. And then I love Nike. So glad. I do too. What was the thing that, so now you got a conversation going. What was the thing that you learned the most when you first joined the company? You're trying to engage them, because once you've engaged them, when you press connect with a note, it's a warm connection. It's not a cold connection. Yeah. They already know who you are. Everybody knows you're looking for a job. So we've already commented thoughtfully on the post and ending with asking a question. And then in the connect request, it is greet, compliment, ask for advice. Hi, Peter Hawkins. You're terrific. I'd like some advice on how to enter this thing. Could you help me? Hi, Peter Hawkins. I really liked your post on blah, blah, blah. I noticed that you were interested in this. I have found that been very useful for me too. Do you have some advice that you could give on how I could expand on that? What you're always doing is asking for advice. I'm not offering a resume. I'm not asking for a job. I'm asking for advice. It's very complimentary to ask for advice. Now, if the advice is, oh, you probably want a job, go through human resources, you get the rude people, but generally you will get people who try to do something.
Yeah.
Okay. And then if you can get a conversation going and everybody is texting and tweeting, now it has to be grammatically correct.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Right. You can't be doing these things in the same way you do your Tinder profile. Okay. You've got to be, the reason why is as a newcomer here, I need to be comfortable that you can communicate in English. The speaking English is not the issue. It's the written English. We live in a text world. So make sure that communication is good. Once you have that, and they know you're looking for a job, suddenly you become very interesting. Okay? And so I do believe that those roles will come up, and you can even say, if you were me and wanting to get in there, who would you talk to? Oh, I'll introduce you to so-and-so. Okay? You would never get that sending your 60 resumes in.
Yeah.
It's these small conversations, these small, meaningful conversations where you have read what I have, which you can do in your living room, in your underwear, in bed, whatever, okay? That is easy stuff. You're already online endlessly doing TikToks and Instagram. So by doing this, targeting real jobs. So your LinkedIn profile, your resume ready, okay, and targeting. Okay, super important.
That's what I usually say to people, right? You do know that same amount of time that you spend on Instagram, now you have to do double LinkedIn. Fair enough. If you're looking for jobs, you have to do it.
Yeah.
And one of the mistakes, Peter, I realized when I talk with my mentees, sometimes they're trying to make connections only with recruiters. And that's recruiters have like a bunch of people doing the same thing. So they're not very efficient.
But
right?
you have to understand what a recruiter does. A recruiter's client is the company, not you. The company has said, I want to buy X. So they're shopping around for X. And they want the closest thing to X. And if you're not the closest thing, it's ended. Okay? There's nothing future. There's no future with that relationship. Don't get me wrong. I'm not slagging recruiters at all. I believe recruiters have real value and they're great opportunities. I think headhunters have value. I think people who are working on your behalf have value. But I do believe that right now in this world, the person who controls your job search is you. Only you. And you're the only one responsible for your job search, not the employer, not your mentor, you. And you can do all these little things. And I don't believe, right now, everything I've suggested has cost no money.
Yeah, true. So true.
Okay? No money. And you sit down and you do it and you look online and you use LinkedIn. It's a really good tool. It really is. And we have found it a good tool just to drum up business. A couple of things, though. If you are an entrepreneur or an applicant, you have to decide, I want to start my own business, then none of this advice is for you. This advice is for applicants, people looking for jobs, people who are starting their own businesses. They're on the agenda. Remember I said agenda or an applicant? They're on the agenda side. I'm pushing my dream. Okay? I will not hire entrepreneurs. I'm not looking to hire a competitor.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
I'm looking to hire an applicant.
Yeah. And how to manage to focus your LinkedIn on different purposes is interesting, right? Because, for example, I've been as well like helping people to do for the perspective of a job applicant, right? To do for a company completely different, right? It's the other perspective. Is the other meaning, because some people, for example, some companies, especially because we work on the Chamber of Commerce, right? Brazil and Canada, some people want to create a LinkedIn profile. It's a different subject here, exactly to create a network with other companies, right? To make business.
Yes.
So it's a completely different.
So that's agenda.
Yeah.
That's an agenda. And we get business from LinkedIn all the time. People reach out and say, oh, I saw you talk about this and you have a shipping company. Yeah. What would you like to talk about? And I give some free advice. Arna gives free advice. Our team does. And from there, they decide if they want to pursue and have a real conversation about our business. But it's funny. Everybody has a story, and that story makes them a mentor. If you came to this country and you got a job and you went through terrible experience or you went through a great experience, if you can share that experience, you are a mentor. Okay, that's all it takes. And I want to remind everybody how much power they have in their story. And just sharing it is invaluable because the person hearing it will take what they can, but they will feel, I can do that. And now some people came easy. We had an applicant who came in, dropped off the resume. I don't know why I was standing at reception. So I saw the guy and talked to him. Don't have anything for you. Nice to drop it off. Thank you very much. And he went on. I could see him crossing the parking lot, going to the next building. I go back to my office, and then one of my staff says they have decided to get married and move to Alberta and resign. I ran out in the parking lot and brought that guy back, and we hired him.
Oh my goodness,
yes,
that's interesting.
And we hired him, and just. So there is the luck of the draw, but I didn't have to go through my list of candidates or anything like that. And
people have to understand it's a
guy.
time consuming, right? So for the company, it's like looking for ideal candidates, lots of things. It's hard for the company as well. That's why they buy some tools like ATS, this kind of thing. The ATS, I don't know, what's your opinion about ATS, Peter?
Well, I think it's very valuable for those people who are getting tons and tons of candidates. But a couple of things. If you're on Monster and if you're on Indeed, you're one's 1,000. If you're not applying on the first day, you're not in the running. Okay? And people say, oh, but the competition ends on June 3rd. No, the competition ends when I find the guy.
True.
And so if I find the guy on day one, done.
Yeah.
Okay? Don't care about who else comes. Now, with the automatic culling of the resumes, it's problematic because, and I'll come to the sophistication of Brazilians again. Brazilians are always doing fancy things, great header, nice layout on their resume, and then the PDF gets cut up somehow through the automatic thing. The name is never attached to the skills. I always say, do the whole thing in Word, save it as a PDF, make sure it's all on one page, and call it a day, because that's the way that the automatic culling machines or culling programs will choose the right candidates.
Do you recommend one page for the resume? Interesting.
Well, how old are you?
I'm 41.
Okay, you can have 2 pages. But if you are 28,
true.
you better
Makes
have
sense.
1 page.
Yeah.
Okay, I am 2 pages.
Yeah.
Okay, seriously.
Yeah.
And I'm listed, and one of those pages is awards.
because usually I recommend for people maximum less than 2, no way, but maximum 2. When I used to say, people say, but I have lots of experience, I cannot say. I said, I have been working in 14 companies. If I can put into, anyone can put.
Great advice.
Yeah.
Maximum 2. Maximum 2. I totally agree with that. And I also believe your resume you should be able to curate so that the information is related to professional life. I see an awful lot of stuff that isn't, or it's rehash or repeat.
But those are so important, especially for Brazil. We have like the CV, and CV basically you like have to write all your work experience. Here in Canada, they don't care.
A resume is not a CV.
It's exactly the summary, right? You have to, especially to respect. For example, you have experience 20 years ago, so this is still valid. Depends. It's not related to the job you're applying for, so doesn't make sense for you to include it.
Well, before you were born, I got my first prize and my second prize and my third prize and my fourth prize. And yes, they're on my resume because it's funny. It's not on my resume because it's going to get me anything. so in terms of a CV, it's really, that's not what we have anymore. It's a resume. It's a summary. Okay. Now, it is it's an advertisement for you. You don't lie. What you do is you emphasize the benefits. Okay. And so you can, and what do you do if with a gap, the immigration gap?
Oh, that's important. Nice. Good.
Oh,
yeah, good
okay.
point. Yeah, valid point.
So I am leaving my country in 2018, but the papers actually take a while, and it's at the end of 2019 that I finally arrive in Canada, and then I can't work for a little while, and then I finally get my next job, and it's 2022. So I have 4 years gap. Now, you think that sounds terrible, but in immigration, that is normal. So the fact is, if somebody says there's a huge gap there, well, I finished my job and I couldn't take on a new job. So I used survival jobs in my old country. And then I immigrated and I had to wait. So I had survival jobs there till I finally got my first thing. So a 4-year gap is 100% reasonable for immigrating. It really is. And it's something that you can refer to in your LinkedIn essay. You leave out, or you can have one line, I immigrated to Canada and, through this phase or whatever. And then you be prepared with your answer at the interview.
Interesting. Because for other thing, for example, about positions. In Brazil, I was a CFO of a company.
Yes.
And then I think that was not helping me because my first experience here I was a finance manager.
Yeah.
And people will understand, come on, you were a CFO, now you're a finance manager. Like, I had to remove that. I don't have these on my resume anymore.
So I don't believe you should remove good experience and good training. However, I think you should use Canadian titles. However, at your age as a CFO, that would be suspicious for me. That would not make you number one.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I removed. I tried to understand the tasks that I was performing. Then I changed the title.
Yeah,
because the tasks are true, they're valid.
Yeah, no, and I'm sure you were CFO, but like for instance, you have an 8-year-old who is a CFO of a lemonade stand. It's not the same thing.
Yeah, exactly, because it has a different connotation here.
Yes.
I understand it's different, and also the market we're expecting for is different. It was CFO, but it was a media company.
Yeah,
it was not a huge company, right? It's different.
Yeah, well, and that's something else too. A small independent company. I as CFO, I did everything. And you could say that, and I think in your essay would have a line or two about, as I had an interesting role where I actually was everything, and my title was CFO. It was not one I chose; it was one they gave me, and I did everything, and I learned all the skills that will make me a great manager. Now,
yeah, makes sense. Yeah, I understand. Yeah,
yeah. I do believe. I don't believe you should ever diminish great experience, great training. But they always say, "Oh, I'm a PhD and they won't take me," and all this kind of stuff. Then you're in the wrong company. You know, you're in the wrong company. But we have to do something with employers. We have to coach employers to understand what they're getting. And I think HR departments really do understand. They go out of their way to understand what's going on with newcomers. But the managers in different departments still want something that they're used to.
Yeah.
And they have to learn, nope, you got to open things up. And giving them a comfort level.
Yeah.
And having somebody like me speak on behalf of people who are new to this country from wherever they are, I find it really helps. Like, for instance, I had a candidate who went through my LinkedIn list and said, there are 10 people I want you to introduce me to. And I said, I will introduce you to 3, but all 3 will talk to you. And because I don't have time to go for 10. So I contacted them. I wrote a nice little note out, you know, been a while since we talked. Did we catch up on this? La, la, la. I've talked to this person who has identified you as somebody to talk to. Would you be willing to talk to them about this? They're looking for an opportunity. Excuse me. All 3 of them said sure and did.
Interesting.
Okay. But again, that's networking.
Yeah, true. And other aspects is interesting because you know a lot about immigration rights, how it works, everything, the PR and work permits kind of things. But usually when I talk with a Canadian, they have no idea.
And they think it's a huge cost. So Arno and I have sponsored 6 families, I think.
Oh.
Yeah. And you know, gone through, you know, both the LMIA process and the refugee process. We've done both. And it is, you know, it's not outrageously expensive. You know, the LMIA, it's actually all on the employer side of things too, and it's been fine. Several have worked for us for many years, and others have moved on to other roles, and I don't regret any one of those experiences bringing those people in.
That's interesting, the point that you're bringing to us here, because usually in US, right, they have the sponsorship is to H1B usually. Okay, I'm not an expert, right? So can be changed.
Yeah,
it's dangerous to talk about it.
In CNN today, it was talking about lots of changes coming.
Lots of changes coming, but usually like it's very like risk for the company, right?
Yeah.
Because you have to go through a lottery process. It's kind of hard. Here in Canada, no. If your company wants to sponsor you, like, it's very reasonable. Of course, you have to wait for a time, but it's still valid, right?
Do you know what? Not only is it not onerous, it's you know, hiring people is hard anyway. And this is not a particularly bad thing, especially if you really require those unique skills that we do in our particular world. It is, I find that it's actually it's not that hard, it's not that expensive, and it is really valuable. But I get a lot of people saying, well, I go to all this trouble and they only stay for a year. Or I hire somebody on a work permit and they're only here till they get their PR and then they're gone. My answer is, you have no idea how long anyone will stay.
True.
Full stop. So no matter who they are, they're going to look for a better opportunity if you can't provide one. And if you have a job that you can give the experience to and reward them, then they'll stay. If they're going to look on and move on, they will move on. But loyalty is something that you really can't buy anymore. People staying for a job for 10, 15, 20 years, it's not the way people think these days.
Yeah, that is a really interesting point, because one of my experiences here in Canada, I had the pleasure to work with professionals I had a team of 3 people, and the newest one in the company had 27 years of company. It's unbelievable, right? So 27, the other one has 32, and the third one 35 years of company. But it's not common. Yeah.
Not common at all.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I was shocked because it's a very huge company, right? It's the third biggest Canadian company.
But would those people only be 55 years old, right? They probably started when they were 25.
Exactly. 20, exactly.
And then stayed and still contributed. Well, at our company, we're 22 years old. We have a 21 person who's been there for 21 years.
Oh.
We have quite a few 15, 16 years. And so we still have lots of people with long tenure at our company.
Yeah, that's good.
Really,
my boss was
people.
there 38 years.
Wow, 38 years.
Now she's retired, right? When it's but she was 38. I was shocked.
So
yeah, but it's not things that common, right?
It's not that it's not that common. I was 10 years at my previous company, and then I was 5 years, and now here 22 years, and it is. And then I had various other jobs. Well, you just figured out my age, starting at 27. And so it's funny though. I think if you do something you love, it's not work.
Oh, that's so true.
Yeah,
That's
it's
so
not
true.
work, you know.
But it's interesting. I think like you have provided us lots of like tips, important tips for like immigrants, not only for Brazilians, right, but for any kind of newcomers here in Canada. And the unemployment rate is growing, so it's important to do the
Well,
things.
it's so funny because I saw an interesting article too in the paper that they were talking about, by the digital paper, that they were talking about the fact that with the new immigration processes about how to take advantage of the people who are already here. And I think we really do need to get some programs to show those people what it takes to get a job. Now, I work for or volunteer for some wonderful organizations, Access Employment, JVS, TRIAC, the Toronto Region Immigrant Economic Council, and they all, that's what they do, and I'm a mentor for all those groups. And, with the North project managers, I've done stuff with them as well. And in that case, it is 100% about just taking your great skills and packaging them so that a Canadian employer understands what you have. And I think we really can take advantage of some people who are here. I don't think we should be, in my personal opinion, nobody should be going back. Okay?
Yeah.
Let's take advantage of who's here and let's have a look and let's see where the gaps are and fill those in with more people. That's my view.
Yeah, because we still need good people here, right? So lots of job opportunities. And of course, if people want to leave because they think Canada is not what they expect, okay, it's another conversation.
It is another conversation. Do you know what the killer? I know the people. A lot of people say opportunity. I didn't get the opportunities, and I'm thinking no one's going to hand you the opportunities.
Yeah.
Maybe what you didn't get was somebody like me telling you how to do it. Okay,
Yeah.
I think that might be
I think
a real flaw.
It's a really important point because people think it's hard to find jobs here in Canada. It's different than any other country, right? They have different rules. People have to understand the rules and try to do the best. Your tips are wonderful. If people follow that on a regular basis, right, for sure gonna.
Well, okay, I'll tell you a couple of things too. I have a little podcast on Spotify, which is called Soft Skills 101, and it gives all these tips in it.
Provide us the link. We can put the link there. Yeah,
beautiful. We also have Arno and I have a podcast together, Logistics in Motion, and there's I think 6 episodes on that with just stories about international trade and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, that is awesome.
I'm a big fan of LinkedIn. Like people always say, give me your Instagram. Nah, my Instagram has Hello Kitty in it. Look at my LinkedIn. My LinkedIn is business, and I have a featured article that I've had on there for years, and I update it periodically, which is 13 things you should do to your LinkedIn tomorrow to land you a job on Saturday. It really is those, and it's all the things that we just talked about. It's the packaging and understanding what online connecting is. I love talking to newcomers, to women re-entering the workforce after being off raising families, and to new grads, because I can tell them things they do not know. And it is where my experience really is valuable. And it is about being polite and friendly and welcoming. It is about having skills. And people say to me, oh, you always talk about a jacket. Well, first of all, a jacket gives you presence. Okay? When I don't have a jacket off, I am casual. But I am business when I have a jacket on. And if you are small, a jacket gives you stature. Okay?
True,
so it's funny. People say, well, how come you're doing that? And I'm saying we're doing that because you are going to be the best person in the group. You are going to be the professional person. And I don't want to change anybody. I don't want to take your culture out. I don't want to change your name or anything like that. I want to keep you simple, professional, polite, and successful.
Yeah, that's so perfect. Actually, one of the reasons that we created this podcast, Peter, because I feel bad, when I see good professionals, they are not able to find jobs, because they doesn't mean they are not good professionals. They are good, but they don't know how to find jobs. Mm-hmm. And it's something like, because you need to be also like a professional job seeker. Or not, I mean job seeker, but I mean to do the right things to find a good fit for you on the market, right?
So that right thing though is to be a connector. You have to start building your network. Okay? That is how your job will be revealed to you. So remember I said I didn't use a resume. Every time somebody said, I know a job you'd be great for. Full stop. And I was great at those jobs until we started a job. Because that's the other thing too. If you can't find a job, make one. Okay? And that's when you become an entrepreneur. You have entrepreneurial instincts.
Yeah.
You do those things. And if you're a volunteer somewhere, that's where you make connections. If you're, doing good, you're also doing good for yourself.
Yeah, yeah. I think like, yeah, I'm impressed with the job you are doing, Peter. I think it's amazing, right, to help people, right, to find the right spots, not only to understand the market, to understand their points, not only like to offer your time, but to also your company, right, to do like LMIAs, lots of things. Is impressive. Yeah, congrats.
Well, thank you so much. But we have learned from it. And I got to tell you too, it is super gratifying. I feel really good about what we do. I really do. I feel good about the work we do. I feel good about the volunteerism we do. I feel good about what I'm contributing. And part of it too, I talked briefly about age a minute ago too. Every 20 years, I think you get sort of another change happening. You get your childhood and your teenage years, and then you get your university and you start your career, and then you establish your career. Well, then you get your retirement. Except that retirement isn't actually the next thing. It's actually the next thing. The next thing in my case is what I'm doing now. Somebody said to me, well, what is your retirement going to look like? And I thought, I think I'm in it. Even though I work every day, I go to work, I earn a salary, and I go and I do this. But if I did this till I died, I would be very satisfying. It's rewarding. It's funny. Yeah. My mom is going to be 101 next week.
Oh my goodness.
101. Yeah. And I said, so Mom, when are you going to stop? And she goes, no time soon.
That's great.
And I love that. I'm inspired by that.
Yeah, for sure. It's very inspiring.
Yeah. She's got things to do. And so
perfect, Peter. It. Oh, this was an amazing conversation.
My
it was
pleasure.
A pleasure to have you here. Lots of insights. I think people that are listening to learn a lot. Not only Brazilians, like people across the world. Amazing tips. If you are here in Canada, like you have the Peter contact, we're gonna put on the description here. If you want to know about these companies, also, I think you may Access Employment Rights. I think I was part of them when I got my PR.
Ah, really? Wonderful.
Yeah. It's a good. It's a nice group. As well, have lots of. It's good to have like people that are helping like immigrants and newcomers in general to find jobs. So thank you very much for watching. We'll be soon back with like completely interesting guests talk about the Canadian market. I'm really proud to have Peter here with us, and see you next week.